if you're so stressed about making everything non-toxic, or like so stressed about your diet that you like are so regimented and you won't go out to eat with your friends and you're not spending time with your family, like you can totally tip into like both sides of it. Of course, if you eat an anti-inflammatory diet, it will help with your inflammation, but if you're so stressed about it and you're like overwhelmed all the time, like you're gonna be inflamed.
Welcome to the Multiple Truths podcast. We're your hosts, Holly
and Brittany. This is a space where we can come together healing in community, where we share our self-love journeys, insights, and wisdom.
A space with no hierarchy or judgment, fostering love, compassion, and respect, and where we honor our differences. With open minds and hearts, everyone's truth is welcome here. We are in this together.
Let's dive into the episode.
Hello and welcome back. You're here with Holly, and today I'm joined with Lauren Less. We're going to be diving into her journey with chronic illness and navigating food allergies and moving towards a more non-toxic and holistic way of living. I met Lauren online because she shares a lot of gluten-free and dairy-free recipes. And when I first started my social media, my Nourish Me Daily, I was sharing a lot of recipes too. So we connected in that way and we've collaborated in a couple posts too. But I really feel this is going to be a powerful episode because food allergies and chronic illnesses are growing concerns worldwide, impacting millions of people and leading to significant healthcare challenges. So to give you some statistics, for chronic illness, the chronic disease prevalence is around 60% of adults in the US have at least one chronic illness, while 40% have two or more. And then for food allergies, the prevalence is about 10% of adults and 8% of children in the US have food allergies, according to a 2021 report from the CDC and the Food Allergy Research and Education Organization. So if you or someone you know is struggling with chronic illness or food allergies, where they feel like they can't eat anything, or are just looking for a more holistic way of living, I really encourage you to listen to this episode or send this to someone that you know may be struggling with this. To give you a little bit more background on Lauren. So Lauren was diagnosed with food allergies a few years ago, so she created an Instagram account to find allergy-friendly recipes. She started experimenting with her own recipes and found a passion for creating allergy-friendly recipes and sharing her story in order to empower others. She is combining her passions for food and helping others. So she's created a space that you can really visit for allergy-friendly recipes, chronic illness support, non-toxic lifestyle suggestions, and health and wellness tips. So it's a very well-rounded Instagram account. I love it so much. And she just has such a beautiful mindset around healing and her chronic illness and not letting it hold her back, and the food allergies, and really, yeah, mindset is everything. And she really talks about the importance of that, which I really love. So yeah, if you're interested in listening, I hope you get a lot out of this episode. And with that, let's dive in. Well, hello, Lauren. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm excited to chat with you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. So I feel like a good place to start, I'd love to start if you just want to share a bit about yourself and like your journey with chronic illness and food allergies and how kind of those experiences shaped your path towards a more holistic, non-toxic living lifestyle. I feel like that would be just a good place to start.
Yeah, sure. So I have kind of a long story, but I was diagnosed with like food allergies and different health issues in my 20s. And that led me to basically being told like you're going to have this forever, you're going to be sick forever, and I was like, no, I want to find another way. So that led me to like integrative medicine, and kind of more of like a holistic way of looking at things. And I started just like learning a lot, learning all the ways that I could potentially heal my body or help my health, and that had me kind of diving into like diet, lifestyle, all the products we're using, our water, our air. Like, I mean, you
Yeah.
can go down like a million rabbit holes, but that is kind of what led me to learn about all these things and make different, like, start making small improvements in my life.
Yeah. Was it like, so it was, you needed to go gluten and dairy free? Is that right? Like, were
Yeah.
those the food allergies?
Yeah, so that's how it started is I was diagnosed with like multiple food allergies. So it was wheat, dairy, eggs, sesame, soy, peanut, buckwheat.
Oh my
And
gosh, was that
then
whoa. So when you were going through that, were you just having like symptoms that you like couldn't explain, so then you went and just to see what your allergies were?
yeah, I was having a lot of like weird symptoms, just constant. Like I was having like hives and like rashes and like then like also GI symptoms and like heart palpitations and it's it's kind of hard because I also have MCAS, which like can also present like allergic reactions.
Yeah.
So it's hard to like piece apart sometimes what's what. Um, but yeah, that was like kind of the first thing. It was like you have these food allergies, take these foods out. Like some of them might be more severe than others, and some of them might be kind of mild, but just take them all out right now, and
Mhm.
kind of see where that leaves you. That was the
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, because that's like a lot of things, you know? I can imagine like being told you're allergic to all these things, cut all these out. It's like, okay, what can I even eat? You know?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I feel like too getting that diagnosis, like you said, like, oh, this is gonna be for the rest of your life. Like that would be so discouraging. I can't even imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the chronic illness to piece of that too that you have?
So I was having like GI issues for like 7 years and they couldn't figure out what was going on. My stomach hurt every single day. And then I was diagnosed with a connective tissue disorder, which is called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And that's basically like a collagen defect. And since we have collagen all over our bodies, it can impact everything. So, like, people might have joint pain, but the way people are diagnosed is through like hypermobility. But you can also have issues like with your organs and stuff because there's like collagen all over your body. So like I definitely have a lot of like GI issues and like issues in my GI tract.
Yeah.
Um, and there are like other conditions that go along with it, like POTS and mast cell activation syndrome, which is like an allergic disorder. The like three are like very closely related.
Mhm.
And then like I also have been diagnosed with Lyme disease, which if you're diagnosed with Lyme, you probably also have POTS and MCAS. So it's kind of like there's so many different opinions from different doctors, and I think that's the problem too. Is like some doctors think the root cause of some of those conditions is Lyme. Some think it's like mold, having like a bad mold exposure. There's definitely like a genetic piece, a genetic predisposition to some of it.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of like different opinions around all of these conditions. And I think that makes it kind of hard too.
Yeah. Are those pretty common, like, in the chronic illness space? Are those, yeah, more common than others? Like, do you know a lot of other people that experience this, or are these pretty rare?
I do know a lot of people that experience these things. Yeah. And I've connected with a lot of them. And it's kind of interesting because I was at like a food allergy conference over the weekend and I was finding that, a lot of the people who had food allergies also had like some other condition, whether it was EDS or celiac or like had been diagnosed with Lyme or POTS or like it's very interesting to see how everything kind of overlaps. But I do think a lot of people in my community either have food allergies or have been diagnosed with EDS or Lyme or even like hormone issues or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah, and I can imagine too, like, struggling with, like, GI issues, like, every day too. I mean, that just, like, affects your whole life, you know? Just oh my I was actually just experiencing some GI issues. Now it's gone away. I feel like it, like, ran its course, but it was literally affecting my everyday life. I was, like, so low energy. I couldn't go out for my regular runs. I was like, I cannot imagine this being, like, a chronic pain, you know? It's just like it affects every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
So, is that obviously something that you still struggle with? Like, you still feel that GI pain, or have you been able to, like, lessen those symptoms?
Yeah, so I I was doing really well and then I got COVID in February and it kind of like had me like getting a little like resurgence of symptoms, mostly like bloating and just stuff like that. So I think I'm not like I don't feel like I went backwards. I think like something's going on. So I just did like a stool test and I'm gonna like figure out and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, because I can imagine even just like living with chronic illness and like food allergies, how challenging that can be, like mentally, physically, emotionally, like how that can have a toll on you. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm curious, what are like the biggest things that you do to support yourself and like, I guess, moving through those challenging times and just really taking care of and prioritizing your mental health? Because I'm sure that, yeah, some days are probably better than others, but I'm just curious if you have like set things in place that really help you stay in a good headspace about it.
Yeah, I feel like mindset is honestly like the biggest, it has been one of like the biggest and most life-changing pieces for me when I was able to like shift from like I'm sick, I'm going to be like this forever, like which is what a lot of doctors tell you. Like when you're in
Yeah.
the Western medicine system, it's like you have this genetic disease and you're going to be sick forever, like don't do this, don't do that, don't work out, like I was told so many different things. I think like really switching into the mindset of like I'm healthy, I'm gonna heal, like I'm gonna get better. I'm like, and kind of like I've done a lot of like visualizations of like this is what I'm gonna look like when I'm like healthy, and this is what I'm gonna be able to do. Um, and just like a lot of journaling. Um, I like to do this journaling activity where it's like evidence that I'm healing. So like and I think it's easy to like just in regular life too, to like not look back and see how far you've come, and I like
Mhm.
to do that every so often and be like, here are all the things, like all the symptoms or all the things that like I used to have and now I don't have anymore, like this is how far I've come.
Mhm.
um but yeah, I think there's a lot of things I do like gratitude, sometimes I'll journal.
Mhm.
I think it's like really important for me to manage my stress, and like
Yeah.
it's hard with social media too, like being a job, to like not compare yourself to other people and not get caught up in like I have to like crank out all this content, and I'm just like it's not sustainable for someone like me who like has fatigue, or like or for anyone really, but like
Yeah. Mhm.
even so I'm like I can't shoot 4 recipes in a day, like I don't have the energy. um,
Yeah.
so I'm really trying to like make sure my workload is manageable and do things that like help me to just like check out sometimes of work.
Yeah. And for like, so I know you mentioned a little bit, like, did your doctor say that you can't work out? Cause I feel like movement, like even just walking out in nature would be like so nice. Like, I mean, for me, whenever I'm feeling
Yeah,
overwhelmed, like nature is my best friend. Like, I'm curious if that has supported you in any way.
for sure. Yeah, getting outside. I like to sit outside every morning and get like sun. Well, whenever it's sunny now.
Yeah.
Um, this has changed my plans a little bit, but I like to at least like sit with my red light in the morning if there's no sun. But getting outside is like huge for me. Like I went for a walk today, even though it's like not super nice out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way that they explained it to me was like I couldn't lift weights anymore and do all these things that I had been doing, nothing high impact. And then I just like got weaker. So I had like found these people on Instagram who had the same conditions as me, and they were like so strong and like had this like whole program of like how to get, how to be strong even if you're hypermobile. Because a lot of the times what happens is like I've gone through my whole life like overcompensate, like certain parts of my body have overcompensated for others because of the hypermobility. So like I always wondered why like in workout classes they'd be like you should feel this here, and I'd be like I don't feel that there, because I was like working the wrong parts of my body basically just because of the hypermobility. So
Mhm.
I had to kind of like relearn how not to like hyperextend my joints and like do things in a way where I was going to like strengthen and not like hurt myself, or um yeah, so I kind of had to like overcome that mindset too of like I'm not just like this fragile thing, I'm not gonna like break, I'm not sick, I'm not all the things that the doctors were telling me basically. So
Yeah. Ugh. And I love to like I feel like community would be so huge in like navigating something like this, because you can hear one thing from a doctor and then you like find this community maybe online that they're like dealing with it but in a completely different way. Like, has community been really supportive for you too, just like meeting with like-minded people that are also going with through something similar?
yes, I
Yeah.
think that has been like really big for me. I think I always like when it comes to social media, which is like honestly where I've connected with so many people, I really try to follow people and connect with people who like are, have healed or have gotten better, or who are like living a really functional life, who are like I'm feeling great. um so that's like I think that's hopeful for anyone who is like in the position I was in when I first started getting answers. um
Mhm.
but like the mindset piece is really huge. Like there are definitely accounts where there are people who have my conditions who are sharing like in a hospital bed, I'm going to be sick forever, and those are
Mm.
not the accounts I choose to follow
Yeah.
um, because of the mindset piece. Not
Yeah.
saying like I couldn't end up in the hospital and like, you know what I mean? But like, I think the mindset is really huge.
Yeah, and those visualizations. I love that you visualize like, there's even like manifestation in a way. It's like creating those visualizations in your head of like
Mhm.
what you're calling in, what you're going to look for. I think there is so much power in what we say to ourselves and our mindsets. Like I feel like really like what we say creates our reality in some sort of way. Like I feel like it really is, that's such a huge component. So I love that that's something that's really supported you, that I hope people like take away, because yeah, your mindset is everything. I really do believe that too, so I love that.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
really huge. And I think people don't like they don't value that enough. I think people will
Mhm.
be like, "No, I can't like think my way out of this." But that's not really what it is. There's like so much more to it. Like you're
Mhm.
making your body feel safe. Your body's always listening to your thoughts. Like
Mhm.
there's just so much that goes into it. That's you're not like thinking your way out of your chronic illness. You're like rewiring your brain.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh, and too like with gratitude, like I feel like gratitude, you can say all the things that you're grateful for. Some people are like that doesn't do anything for me, but like actually feeling and like closing your eyes and feeling what you're grateful for, like that's a felt sense of change within your body. It's such
Yeah.
a sense of
Mhm.
calm and peace and love when you're feeling into what you're grateful for. Like
Yeah.
gratitude is a huge piece too. So you mentioned that you do
Yeah.
that too. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Like you're changing like the chemical release in your body.
Mhm.
Like you're making a physical change.
Yeah, and I feel like some people, it's hard because it's not like tangible. Like people want to know what, let me do something and let me
Right.
see results right away. But
Yeah.
I think that's like the slow progression of like the everyday, like really rewiring and creating that safety within your body. And yeah, it just feels like it's not instant results. And I think that's probably what pushes people away sometimes. But I am
Mhm.
such a firm believer in all of that too. I feel like that's more of like the holistic practices too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious too, because like obviously you had to go to a lot of doctors.
Mhm.
What would you say to someone, I guess, how can someone like advocate for themselves in the doctor's office? Because I feel like someone telling you you're going to be dealing with this forever. And like, I'm sure that there's just like really hard things that happen in those doctor's offices, hard messages that you have to receive. But like, how can you also like, I guess, be an advocate for yourself?
Yeah. I think it is really hard.
Yeah.
I think part of it is like you can always get a second opinion. Like if you don't like what your doctor's telling you or you want to get another opinion, I think that's important for people to know. I think of course, like doctors are great help, like we have there are great things about our medical system, but I think when I was younger I used to think like I would go to the doctor and they knew everything, and that's just not the case. Like doctors are human too, and I
Mhm.
think it's really important to have a doctor who's willing to listen or to say like, we don't know everything about this yet, and like I'm going to do the best I can to figure it out or find the newest research or try the newest thing. But having a doctor who's like, we can't do anything for you, like that's not a doctor that I want to see.
Yeah, I think too, it's like if you're not resonating with a doctor, like it's okay to just like leave that doctor. I think
Yeah.
sometimes we like find
Mhm.
someone, we're like, oh, this is the one. And then it's like, no, this actually isn't resonating with me anymore. Let me like, it's okay to like explore your options. Exactly like what you said,
Right.
get a second opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. I think people like don't know that they can do that sometimes, like, or they don't
Mhm.
think of it. They're like, yeah, like this is my doctor and like whatever they say goes. But like, it's the same. I mean, when I was a therapist, I would say the same thing. Like, if you
Mhm.
don't feel like I'm a good fit for you, like you can find someone else. Uh,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
what we should be doing with like every provider.
Absolutely. Yeah. What's coming to mind too is like I just interviewed a woman who is struggling with infertility, and she went to a doctor um and like in her gut, in her intuition, like her intuition was telling her like it's like she should be doing something else. Like this doctor
Mhm.
wasn't, basically like the doctor was telling her one thing, but her intuition was telling her something else. But she listened to the doctor since it
Mhm.
would they were accredited. But it's like her
Yeah.
intuition was right in the first place. So like I feel like always like if you feel like something's off, if you're not resonating with someone, what the doctor says, like trust yourself too. Like if you feel
Yeah.
like you need to go a different direction, trust yourself with that. And I feel like something too that I'm really feeling on such a strong level is like marrying Western and Eastern medicine. Like we
Mhm.
need to like marry the two together because there's so much truth in
Yeah.
holistic health practices and there's
Mhm.
truth in our medical system too. And it's like, how can we like bring those two together and not lean too heavily on one? You know, I feel like some people just really go down one route and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the thing too, is like finding a good integrative doctor. And I think the hard thing with that is like a lot of them are out of pocket, or, I've found great doctors, but I pay out of pocket for all of them. And
Oh,
like I know
yeah.
that's not possible for everyone to get that kind of care. And that's the problem, is like
Yeah.
it's really it's inaccessible.
I know. That's what's so tough. That's what's so tough about it because a lot of these integrative doctors, yeah, they're not covered by insurance.
Right.
So it's really hard. But I feel like that's where it's even like doing just the holistic practices that you talked about, like
Mhm.
mindset, gratitude, walking, you know, like being in community. I know meditating has been super supportive for me, even like red light therapy, like you
Yeah.
said, just like doing more of those holistic things just in your day to day
Mhm.
can be, and like doing your own work. There's so much information out there too.
Right. There's
Yeah.
always something you can start for free, or like, nearly free.
Yeah.
Like getting outside, taking a walk, like things like that. I think some of those things can go a really long way.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and I'm curious. So, like, has cutting out dairy and gluten products and like really looking into the products that you're using, like, has that helped manage your symptoms?
Yeah, it has. I think changing my diet has been a really big thing. Um, and like I hope that I won't have to do it forever. I think like with my recent flare up, I'm like, okay, I gotta like dial my diet back again.
Mhm.
But I think just like eating whole foods and like, staying away from processed foods as much as possible. Um, Adding lots of nutrients, focusing on protein, making sure I'm, eating enough and eating like in the right time windows and things like that has really helped me too. Like when I was first having like all these GI symptoms, I felt horrible. So I'd wake up and I like wouldn't want to eat because my stomach hurt. And then I was like messing up my blood sugar, and like just there's like so much that goes into it, I feel like.
Yeah. Oh my God. And for like the non-toxic stuff, did you start with like household cleaners and like shampoo and conditioner and basically whatever you like put on your body that could disrupt your hormones?
Yeah, I think I started with laundry detergent because I was like getting hives from my laundry detergent.
Interesting.
And so I started there, and then I did like shampoo and conditioner and like soap and makeup, and um, yeah, I've like pretty much swapped everything. I think like the hardest thing to swap is like furniture items, because like there's
Mhm.
only like specific stores that do that. So it's just like at some point, like you're just kind of like doing the best you can.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like too, more than anything, because I know someone else who I know in my life who was struggling with infertility, like one of the doctors told her like you should look more into non-toxic products. So she like went crazy with like getting all of the non-toxic products, but like she still wasn't able to get pregnant. And I
Mhm.
feel like it's because also like there was so much stress. Like
Yeah.
I feel like even if you can't go all non-toxic, it's like also just releasing your like learning how to like rest and relax in your body because even
Mhm.
like thinking you have to go on non-toxic can cause that like
Oh
anxiety
yeah.
and fear and you know what I'm like finding that right balance I feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really important too, because it's like if you're so stressed about making everything non-toxic, or like so stressed about your diet that you like are so regimented and you won't go out to eat with your friends and you're not spending time with your family, like you can totally tip into like both sides of it. I think like
Right.
finding a balance and a middle ground of like, of course, if you eat an anti-inflammatory diet, it will help with your inflammation, but if you're so stressed about it and you're like just overwhelmed all the time, like you're gonna be inflamed. Like you're gonna be
Yeah,
you're
it's
not gonna
almost
feel well.
yeah, it's like the stress of needing to get it right and to do these things like can actually cause like the opposite effect,
Mhm.
you know? So I think it's like doing the best you can, like finding that right balance where like it's sustainable for you, but also like you're still living your life, but like
Mhm.
manage it. I feel like it's more like helping like managing your stress levels too.
Yeah.
Obviously all of those things like play a huge role. Like I definitely look into like my products and all of that, but for someone, I don't know why she's popping to mind, and I'm like, yeah, finding that right balance too. Because I think that, yeah, that's yeah, I think just finding that right balance. But I love that that's been supportive for you, that like that has been able to like manage your symptoms.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm curious because like in the work that I do, I know that the body can like hold on to emotions and like store trauma, and like what the mind suppresses, the body expresses.
Mhm.
So I'm curious if you've tried any like somatic practices or like explored any practices around emotional releasing, breath work, inner child work, trauma healing that has helped or like been supportive for you. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to do like more somatic things. I've done just like small, like somatic, like grounding type exercises. I've definitely done breath work, things like that.
Yeah. Cause I know, yeah, I just feel like our body is always working for us, but sometimes like we don't know like the stored emotions that are like stuck in our bodies. I know that I was just looking into some research around how like trauma therapy can help heal chronic illness because it's like releasing those emotions from your body. Like breath
Yeah.
work specifically can help you like really get into a state of like releasing deep seated emotions, and then like breathing techniques and meditation and all of that can like help you regulate day to day. But then
Mhm.
like the deep somatic work can help like long term, if that makes sense. Like have you looked into, do you know much about that? I was just like looking at it, trying to see the correlation between chronic illness, because I know it can help people, you know, heal trauma and anxiety and depression and PTSD and all of that, but I
Yeah.
hadn't really talked to or looked much into like chronic pain and illness too.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's like a huge link with like the nervous system and chronic illness. And there's, I do think that you can't heal until you got your body into like this rest and digest, or like there's only so much healing you can do until you get your body into like rest and digest.
Hmm.
I think that plays a huge part. Like if you're just like in fight or flight all the time,
Yeah.
that like that's why you're sick.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I feel like as a society, like most of us are living our lives in fight or flight. Like I feel like it's like, and what I'm learning too is like it really starts in the womb space, living in fight or flight. Like most of us
Yeah.
come out of the womb like in fight or flight because like we were a seed in our grandma when she was pregnant with our mom. So whatever our grandma was going through, whatever our mom was going through, like that has an imprint on our nervous system. And then just the environment that you grow up in, like your environment is so huge. So like I feel like so many of us have been in survival mode for so long. It's like that state of that's the norm, you know? And like I feel like anxiety, depression, PTSD, all these mental illnesses are at record levels because I feel like we're like in a constant state of fight or flight, and our society
Mhm.
really perpetuates that, you know, like needing to place your self-worth on how much you get done in a day and not really prioritizing rest and all
Yeah.
of that. So yeah, I'm curious, like with you being on social media too, like needing to like do recipes and work and all of
Mhm.
that, like how do you, I guess, prioritize rest and like get that work life balance to like help regulate your nervous system and get out of fight or flight? Because that's something I'm navigating too. I'm like, I'm really trying. I just was like resting for so much for these past 2 months because I feel like I needed to.
Mhm.
But then it's like, it's hard because we live in a society where we have to work, you know, we have to do these
Yeah.
things. So it's like finding that right balance and those practices that can really help you regulate your nervous system. But yeah, I'm curious what that has looked like for you.
Yeah, I think it's really hard. It's hard. I mean, I'm still trying to find a balance too. I feel like it's something like I'm constantly working on. I do really like to have kind of like a slower morning where I'm like, okay, I'm going to do my morning routine. I'm going to sit outside. Like try not to touch my phone when I wake up. It's hard, but I do really notice a difference when I don't like open email or social media right when I wake up. If I try to wait like at least an hour, like I feel like there's like a pretty profound difference throughout the day.
Mhm.
Um, what else? Yeah, I like I have trouble like turning my brain off, and I'm like watching TV but also like working on my computer, and it's
Mhm.
hard, and I feel like my mindset around it has changed so much over the years, but like I still have some work to do. And I think
Mhm.
like the nature of social media is also hard because it like never turns off. Like when I did my therapy job, I like met with my clients, I did my notes, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, but like
Mhm.
this, it's like there's always more you can do. You can always be like doing Pinterest, doing, there's like a
Mhm.
million things you can do, planning recipes, planning videos, scrolling through Instagram, commenting on people's stuff. Like there's
Mhm.
the work like doesn't end. So you have to like decide when it ends. And like I
Yeah.
think I'm trying to give myself like stricter hours of like when I can be on my phone. Time blocking has helped me. I'm like trying to do like Wednesdays is when I do like my doctor's, like I do like lymphatic drainage or like, any like medical appointment type things. I try to do those on Wednesdays, any meetings on Wednesdays, and that's like helped me a little bit. uh,
Mhm.
just to like be not so stressed, I guess. So I'm not like switching into different like brain spaces throughout the day.
Mhm.
Um, what else? I think like you, I like in July, I like went through a period where I was like, okay, my health isn't doing so great. I'm gonna like slow down a little bit. But I feel like it's hard to like implement that balance where you're like working and like having time.
Mhm.
So I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah. I'm curious real quick too. What does the lymphatic drainage look like? Is that so you go somewhere to get that done? What do you do for that?
It's like, I don't know if you've seen those videos on social media, but it's not like that. It's like it's very very gentle, like just
Mhm.
like very like light touch, just like to help like move my lymph system.
Mhm.
I have like some swollen lymph nodes and stuff in my neck, so she just like very gently like works on pretty much my whole body now to like try to move things.
Oh, that's so is that like helping kind of like just drain and then that some sort of like felt sense of like release from your body?
Yeah, I feel like it helps a little bit with like inflammation and just like my like lymphatic system, because I have these like swollen lymph nodes. I think that's like an indicator that things are not like my lymphatic system isn't like moving as much as it should be.
Mhm.
They call it like your lymph system is like sluggish. So that's what I do to like help support it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting because I haven't heard of I know that you can like do like I do my gua sha in the morning, which
Yeah.
definitely like helps with the is it kind of like acupuncture in a way?
I would say it's like more like gua sha. Like the idea of like what you're doing is more like gua sha or like dry brushing. Like that helps move your
Okay.
lymphatic system too. Um,
Mhm.
it's just like some because I've like have like these swollen lymph nodes. They've like I can like get my insurance to cover it basically, which is nice.
Yeah, that is nice. Have you tried acupuncture or anything? Like have any of those practices worked for you?
Yeah, I have tried acupuncture. I do like it. I've done like I've done a lot of like auricular acupuncture for some reason. My I think it's because my body's so sensitive. Like when I do too many needles, I get like it almost puts me more into fight or flight, which
Oh,
is like the
interesting.
opposite.
Yeah.
But then I like talked to a practitioner once, and she told me that like if somebody doesn't know that much about my medical conditions, they'll see that like I have so many imbalances and they try to like fix them all at once, and that like overwhelms my system.
Yeah.
So I just do like a couple needles, and that like really helps. I think there's like a reset point here or something like that.
Mhm. Interesting. Yeah, because I know that that's another like holistic practice that can help like naturally try and like relax the body a bit.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like yeah, similar to you, like for my morning, what really helps me like stay in a state of calm. I can like instantly feel like when I'm getting revved up like during the
Yeah.
day because
Mhm.
I feel like I've created this balance because specifically in the mornings like I don't look at my phone for at least an hour and a half after waking
Yeah.
up because I'm like this is my time to just like focus on myself, like do meditating, journaling, pulling a card, doing some stretching, drinking water. Like I'm just like fully just focused on myself, filling myself up, and then I'll get into my day. And then something else that's helped is like when I notice I'm on my phone too much, I'm like, I need to literally put this away and put it on like the not airplane mode, but the sleeping mode. So like I can't even see if anyone texts me, or I just like put my phone away and I make sure I prioritize like getting in movement for the day, even if it's just a walk. Like I
Mhm.
feel like that supports so much. Just getting out in nature helps
Yeah.
regulate me so much.
Mhm.
Um, and then similar with the morning routine, which I found is like so helpful to get a good night's sleep, is I don't look at my phone for at least like an hour and a half to 2 hours before I go to sleep too. Some
Yeah.
nights it's harder than others because like I'm just kind of want to scroll and just relax for
Mhm.
like actually it's not even relaxing because I'm like revving myself up as I'm like scrolling through TikTok. But I like put my phone on sleep and then I'll do like a nighttime routine. I'll read in bed, I'll drink water, I'll like sage myself, whatever I want to
Mhm.
do. But I feel like, yeah, because I just think we just are constantly go, 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 go. And our phones are like, we have access to everything now, like our emails, social media, work. It's like, when do we shut it off? And I feel like that's where it's like really needing to create those boundaries for yourself, because like it's so hard. No one else can do it for you. And that's what I'm realizing. I'm like, I need to like set these boundaries with my phone because like, one, it's triggering my fight or flight, and two, it's making me like not like I'm not happy when I look at my phone all
Mhm.
day, and like when I'm
Yeah.
working all day, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you notice anything that like really triggers your symptoms? Is it mainly when you're like maybe overworking or like you eat something or like an emotional event happens or yeah, I'm
Yeah.
curious.
I think it's like usually stress or food or um like chemicals or what else? Like if I over exercise, like I have to be like really careful about like doing mostly low impact exercises still. Like I can't do anything like super high intensity or I will like get dizzy.
Mhm.
Um so like I have to like I have a fine balance with that too. I think just like overexerting myself doing too many things in a day. Um Also not like eating enough, not eating enough protein, not drinking enough water, like
Mhm.
basically like I have to like really have my like lifestyle things in order to feel
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Oh, that would be because I feel like for me, I like to do that too. I'll keeping my lifestyle good so I feel good mentally, but also it's just like another added layer when like you get these like flare ups and symptoms and all of that. I'm so sorry you have to deal with that and just have to, yeah, just be really tough to like navigate that day to day. But
Yeah.
I feel like your mindset is so beautiful around it. But I'm sure like you have your hard days too, where it's like really frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking to connect with like minded community on your journey of self growth, self love, and spiritual discovery? Join the Beehive, a supportive community hosted by Holly and I, designed to help you on your personal transformation and healing journey and to help you tap into your innate wisdom with live monthly Q&A sessions, exclusive content, and like-minded community. The Beehive is the perfect space to grow and step into your most authentic self. For more information and to sign up, check the link in the show notes.
Yeah, and I'm sure is that where you like does your community like can you guys lean on each other when you guys are like having a bad day? Are people open in that sort of way?
Yeah, I think so. I think it is helpful. I think also when I like share on my stories like this is what happened or like I'm not feeling so great. Like I think I'll get a lot of messages that people appreciate that. Like
Mhm.
it's hard because I try to keep my page like overall positive and like positive mindset. But then I also like want to share like, yeah, like today sucked and that's okay. Like so I think it's helpful to talk to other people who like have gone through similar things.
Yeah, I feel like now more than ever, people are like craving authenticity and
Mhm.
vulnerability now more than ever. Like, cause I feel like, life can be really hard. And I feel like when we see other people struggling and don't have this like perfect, happy life, like you can be like, see yourself in them.
Yeah.
So I think there's like so much power in like being vulnerable and authentic and sharing when you are having a crappy day,
Mhm.
because it helps someone else be like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. Thank God. Like I thought that I was the only, that's what I think with social media. It's so easy to feel like everyone like has this perfect happy life. And that's where
Mhm.
the comparison comes in. And I know I'm craving just more like authenticity and real and vulnerability, because like I feel like that's where we can really heal together, is
Mhm.
like when we are real with one another.
Yeah.
So I love that people are supportive when you do that, because I feel like that can also like be encouraging in a way to like keep
Mhm.
doing that, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think something just that I really feel is like our body is always working for us. Like it's always working for
Mhm.
us. It's always trying to protect us. It's always trying to keep us safe. But I'm sure struggling with like food allergies and chronic illness, like it can sometimes feel like your body is like really working against you in a sense. So I'm curious how you've worked to create a healthier, more compassionate relationship with your body despite like facing those challenges. Like, yeah, and any advice that you would give to someone that's also facing this, because I can imagine, yeah, it would just feel like your body's like working against you.
Yeah, and I think that is like really important to kind of like switch that messaging, like what you're telling yourself. Cause I think when it's like easy when you first get diagnosed with anything really to be like, my body's broken, my body's like with autoimmune stuff, my body's attacking itself, my body's doing this. Like, but like you said, like your body's always working for you. Your body like knows what it needs to do. Your body's really smart.
Mhm.
Um, and just like I think what gives me hope too is knowing there are so many things that you can possibly do to like heal whatever condition it is. Like there are like endless things. Like sometimes
Mhm.
it's overwhelming how many things there are. I do like once you start diving into the holistic space, like there
Mhm.
are so many things people say like do meditation, do acupuncture, do this, do that, do lymphatic drainage. Like I don't feel like I'm ever going to run out of options of things to try. Like if one thing doesn't work, like I'll try something else. And I think that's important too, is like kind of just having hope that like something will work, or like a culmination of like all the things you're doing eventually will lead to feeling like closer to 100% better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like too, since there are so many things out there, I feel like it's so important too to know that like there's no one right way to do things.
Right.
There's no one right way that you can heal. There's so many things out there. So it's like finding what resonates with you. Did you find that like you've had to trial and error like a bunch of different things to find what works best for you?
Yes. And I also think a lot of people who get chronic illness are very type A. And I went down the rabbit hole of thinking that I had to do, all these different things in a day. Like,
Mhm.
because I would have, practitioners be like, do this every day. Like you have to weight lift every day. You have to do your physical therapy exercises every day. You have to do an Epsom bath every day. You have to eat this much protein, drink this much water, take all these supplements, however many hours away from each other. Like it gets overwhelming.
Yeah,
There's
like
so many things. There's
stress.
light. There's pastoral packs, and like then I would be like, I have to do all these things perfectly in order to heal, and like that's also not the case. Like if you're
Mm,
making a list of like, I have to meditate, I have to do breath work, I have to do my gratitude, like you're already reversing like the effects that it's gonna have on
yeah,
you. So
like
I think
causing more stress, kind of
right.
like what we, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was a big like thing for me, is being like, okay, I don't have to have the perfect morning routine. And like sometimes I'll kind of like I know there's some days I like should be doing more, but I'm like, you know what? Or like phases I go through where I'm like, yeah, I haven't been doing my like tapping or my journaling as much as I like want to be, but it's okay. Like I think trying to do things perfectly ends up causing more stress.
Right. Yeah. It's like even that perfectionism can like cause the revving up of your nervous system, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just being slow and steady and like so compassionate with yourself and like trusting you're exactly where you need to be and the right practices are going to find you and resonate with you. And just, it's like slow and steady, slow and steady. It's so with tapping, I just heard you say tapping. Do you do
Yeah.
EFT tapping? I've heard really good things about
Mhm.
EFT tapping. I've done that a bit.
Yeah.
I don't use it in my day to day, but I know it can be really powerful.
Yeah, I like it. I just use like I think it's it's an app. Let me see. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Oh my gosh. Tapping solution.
Okay.
But they have ones that are just like 5 minutes long or like a couple minutes long. So I like sometimes in the morning I'll like put my red light on and then I'll just do like tapping while I do my red light. I like to like habit stack stuff too. So like
Mm-hmm.
I do my red light, I'll like drink my matcha or journal or tap, like do tapping or like sit in the sun and read a book or like, whatever it is. I try to do like a couple things or like listen to a podcast while I walk or something.
We're interrupting this episode to share something close to our hearts, our virtual healing circles. We have been loving them so much and meeting so many of you incredible people through them. Brittany and I are passionate about bringing people together to support one another and heal in community. We felt alone on our paths for so long, and coming together in community has been instrumental to our growth, and we've both seen the importance in it. We aren't meant to do this alone. In unity and vulnerability, we find strength, courage, and support each other on our paths back to ourselves. Our monthly virtual seminars blend discussions, workshops, and practices to nurture your mind, body, and spirit. Whether seeking guidance, healing, or a listening ear, our gatherings offer a safe, inclusive space for people to connect, heal, and grow. Join us on this journey of healing in community. Together, we can heal, grow, and thrive. Register for the next circle using the link in the show notes. We hope to see you there. I know that like food and lifestyle changes obviously has really contributed to like managing your chronic illness symptoms. And I was starting to look into it because I'm just see such positive research coming out about plant medicine when it comes to like helping people heal. And I
Mm-hmm.
was looking, I guess there's like really powerful, like exciting research coming out about plant medicine supporting chronic illness recovery, like even just like realms of like herbal medicine, then psychedelics, other natural remedies. Like the research is really
Mm-hmm.
growing and emerging, but it seems like really exciting. So have you looked into that at all? Like, do you feel that you truly can heal from chronic illness and not just manage the symptoms?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think it's hard. It's hard when they tell you there's a genetic component, but
Yeah.
I just like learning more and more about epigenetics and how like they say that you can like turn on and off your genes, like how I'm sure you've read like they say like meditation can turn off like hundreds of different genes that like could cause like inflammation or like whatever in your body.
Mhm.
I don't know the exact like quote or research, but I think it is very similar with like chronic conditions. Is like I am positive that you can like turn off some of the genes, and
Mhm.
I think they're just like starting to really dive into that research. And then
Mhm.
as for like plant medicine, like I mean, I take a lot of, I probably take too many supplements right now. And I'm trying to kind of like pare them down. But a lot of what I've done is like supplement based and like different types of like herbal medicine, basically, to support different things versus like traditional medicine.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was basically talking about the two, psilocybin and ayahuasca can really help people like if it is trauma related, like if there's emotions, trauma stuck in the body that the mind has suppressed, like
Yeah.
these specific plant medicines can really help you get to the root and like feel safe in your body and help you like release emotions and process your trauma through the body. So there's been like some studies done with that, which that's still emerging, but I feel
Yeah.
like the more that they do studies on that, I feel like there could be something really powerful with that too.
Mhm.
If someone decides to go down that route, I feel like it's just like or like more somatic therapies of like breath work and working with EMDR therapists or
Yeah.
whatever it may be to like help people get back in the body and create that safety within the body. Yeah, I was just looking more into that before this call. And I guess there is like, yeah, because I know there's already really powerful research around helping people with like mental illnesses, but it seems
Mhm.
like it's similar with chronic illness as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is really interesting. And yeah, I agree like with the trauma therapy perspective too. I think it can be really powerful, and I think that is something like I want to learn more about too as like a practitioner. Is you kind of learn about like CBT and ACT and like different modalities, but like I I mean, talk therapy can be great for some things, but I think
Mhm.
there is like an aspect of it that can be like kind of re-traumatizing at a certain point. Is like if you keep talking things over and over, um, I think the somatic stuff like really has a place too.
Yeah, I actually just had a licensed therapist on who's actually getting more into like the plant medicine route because he's really seeing like he wants to help people get to the root of their trauma to really heal. And he felt in the talk therapy space, he was just like putting band-aids on people.
Yeah.
And basically what we were saying is like you can't talk out your trauma. So I feel like that talk therapy 100% has its time and place maybe to help you get to a good baseline and to
Mhm.
deeper understand things. But
Yeah.
when it comes to trauma, when it comes to emotions that are stuck in the body that your mind may not even be aware of, but like your
Mhm.
body's holding on to, it
Yeah.
has to be felt through the body. It has to be felt and released through the body.
Mhm.
So yeah, it feels like pairing like talk therapy with somatic therapy with other forms of like really deep healing trauma work could be like marrying all of them together to like work together to create like
Yeah.
real change to help people really get a felt sense of safety within their bodies, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah. I think that is a good point too. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think people need to learn about this stuff. Like there is definitely a psychoeducation piece. And then there's like the top down like learning. You can know everything about like I'm a therapist. Like I
Mhm.
know about the nervous system and all of that, but like the like bottom up of like actually getting your body to like feel safe is like a little bit harder. So,
Yeah, it's like the integration of the learnings, you know?
mhm.
Because, yeah, it's like logically we know these things, but how can we start to like embody them, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's definitely a journey, but I feel like we're talking about it more and more now. I
Yeah.
think it's like really getting talked about, which is really exciting. I feel like shifts are definitely going to happen. It feels like it's a little bit down the road, but I think like these conversations are starting and people are understanding that we need to heal through the body and all of that kind of stuff and like regulate our nervous systems because like so many of us are walking around dysregulated and
Yeah.
it's causing so many issues and it's so much to do with like our society, our environments, our food, our stress level. I mean, there's so many factors that go into it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like it's becoming more and more talked about, which is exciting. So,
Right,
yeah.
that's good. And like if you look at like the levels of or the percentages of chronic illness and disease and I mean they're just way up, like cancer, everything. And it's like, okay, what is it? And it's like we're all running around in fight or flight, the food, the environment, the toxins, the like it's just there's so many factors. But yeah, I do think like our society and like the way it operates is a huge part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm curious, just like what advice would you give to someone who's just beginning their journey with like navigating food allergies or chronic illness or whatever it may be? I guess, like, what do you wish someone would have told you when you first were like going down this route?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is like knowing that you can get better and that things will get better and that you can heal, different chronic symptoms and things like that. And that, with the food allergies, you can still eat delicious food even if you have restrictions. So I think those were important. I think like there's a very much like idea that like your life is over or like you can't do any of the things you used to do.
Hmm.
But like you'll find ways to still do those things. And there's always something that you can try or do to like even just get like 1% better or, take a small step forward.
Yeah. Something that's coming to mind, I'm just curious, like I don't drink anymore, but I'm curious if they tell you to cut out alcohol because like if that flares up your symptoms too.
Yeah, I haven't drank in like years.
Yeah, I wonder if that really can support people too,
Mhm.
because I know it
Yeah,
can cause inflammation in the body, you
for
know?
sure. Yeah, I definitely think that can help. Yeah, I got to the point where I was like, this isn't worth it for me. It just like flared
Yeah.
up all these different symptoms. So,
Curious too, because like you obviously have your page on Instagram and TikTok that like provides so many gluten-free and dairy-free recipes.
mhm.
So yeah, like I feel like when you get that, it feels kind of like a sentence of like, oh my gosh, what can I even eat? But like it
Yeah.
is possible to still eat like really delicious, wholesome foods.
Mhm.
And yeah, you have so many amazing recipes on your page. I love that you've created that for people that are like struggling with similar things. Like it's not your life isn't over. Like it's still possible to live a very like fulfilling life and start your healing journey. It feels like you're on a healing journey, like taking care of yourself, your mind, body, spirit. Oh, okay, this just made me think of it real quick. I think this is like my last question for you, but I'm curious to if someone has food allergies, how can they like advocate for themselves when they go out to dinner? Because I feel like that would be a really not uncomfortable conversation, but like having like what can you eat when you go out? So I feel like you have
Yeah.
like those little cards that
Mhm.
you created.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to talk about that, because I think
Yeah.
anyone that struggles with food allergies.
Mhm. I have these little like allergy cards. They're like business cards, and I just like got a pack of them so that they could like the waitress could just take it and give it to the chef. But I think it's really helped communicate well, and then there's no like wondering like did they get them all? Did they write them all down? Like was there a miscommunication? It's like here it is. Like you have all of them. You can give them to the chef, and then they know. And then usually I'll call restaurants ahead of time. I will. There's like a couple different apps where I look at like restaurant reviews from people who have food allergies, and see if like they were able to accommodate them. um, but yeah, I've been able to like talk to the chef a lot. If you call between like lunch and dinner on like an off hour, usually you can talk to like the manager or the chef, and they'll tell you like what you can eat, what they can make you, and then I can like ask all my questions because I have to like ask what kind of oil do you use, like, and things like that. So
Mhm.
that's been helpful.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like that could be really supportive for someone that's struggling. And I feel like is it on maybe on your TikTok? I'm not sure on your Instagram. Do you have that video linked to the top of like the card that you give? Because I feel like if someone's like really wanting to do that, maybe they could find it on your profile of like what that business card looks like with all the allergies that you have.
Yeah, I think I have it on my in my bio. It's in my
Okay.
bio somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, because yeah, I feel like that would be so supportive. Like if you are going to a restaurant and don't want to have to like explain everything, like especially if you're out with a group of people, like definitely calling beforehand and then also like giving that card. I feel like that could just mitigate so many uncomfortable conversations and just like putting you on the spotlight with a group of people if you just like are like, let me just
Mhm.
figure this out ahead of time. So yeah, I love that. I think that yeah, that can make it just really easy, an easy transition because I'm sure that gets annoying too having to do that, but that's another way that you just show up for yourself and take care of yourself. So
Mhm.
yeah, awesome. Well, if you just want to share like your socials, I'm going to have everything linked in the show notes, but if you want to just share what they are, and yeah, definitely check out her profile because there's so many good recipes on there and just like holistic tips too. I feel like it's a well-rounded space. So,
Thanks.
yeah.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram or TikTok at Less with Lore. And then I also have a blog, lesswithlore.com. And then on my Substack, I send out like a weekly email of just ideas for the week that are gluten free and dairy free.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Well, yeah, definitely go check her out. I'll have all of that in the show notes. But yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
I
thank
so
you.
appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. With that, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday. As we wrap up today's episode, we want to extend our deepest gratitude for joining us on this journey. Your support does not go unnoticed. If you enjoyed this episode and find value in our conversations, please take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback not only helps us grow, but also allows us to reach more people who can benefit from our community of healing and support. Every review, every rating makes a difference. Thank you for being a part of the Multiple Truths podcast family. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Multiple Truths podcast. Keep speaking your truth and spreading your light. We love you, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday.